We're live. That's what's sad. That's way better quality than the laptop.
I'm actually happy that telephones have gotten to the point where they are higher quality than a laptop.
Oh, me too. But my
Is that bonus
laptop
content?
is-
They just got bonus content there, and now
This is YouTube.
this is YouTube. So
This is
YouTube got
Facebook.
bonus content. YouTube
YouTube
got
gets worse sound,
they got
but
what?
better picture.
YouTube got 20 now, maybe like 17 seconds of extra bonus content.
That's true.
Yeah,
But YouTube gets better picture,
yeah.
better quality picture, but a weird frame because you can see everything. But worse
I like
sound.
that you can see that it's a glorified shower curtain.
It's not a shower curtain.
It's a glorified shower curtain. It's not a shower curtain. That's right. It's a glorified one.
Blanket.
Yeah.
Not that that's any better.
But like last time, Lisa Rettel, she said that we looked like we were in front of a bomb shelter, I think. Or something.
It does kind of look like a terrorist video.
Yeah,
I'm
now
not
there's a
gonna
dog
lie.
this time.
It
You're
is
like
not.
Dr. Evil. You have this dog on your lap that you just stroke and is part of your evil schemes.
Evil. I do have many evil schemes.
Yeah.
Not for this podcast.
No.
All right, internet.
Yes.
That's a good start.
Yeah,
Should try that again.
it's a great start.
Hardy, you want to take over?
Hardy should take over. Hardy barks when I come near. Harley growls. You see that? You hear that?
It'll be entertaining now.
Your dad's fine. He can take care of
He's
himself.
shaking.
All
right, internet.
So mad at me.
This is the World of Great podcast. I am Kelowna's Cougar Meat Kid Colin Cutler.
And I am doing this podcast under protest because this dog is growling at me. I'm Mike Chisholm.
Yes, and in a world and society constantly veering towards black and white issues and arguments, we are here to explore the world of gray.
Yeah. It goes with everything.
It goes with everything. And
Sure.
we got YouTube Live going and Facebook Live going, one on my phone, one on my laptop. This is probably the worst time to be doing this. It's Saturday at 8 p.m.
Sure, everybody's
no
out
one is
having
going
a
to watch
party.
this live.
I think everybody's having a party.
Except Kevin
tonight.
Jeffries.
Isn't that what
'cause he's
Facebook
getting
for?
ready for
Facebook?
bed.
Yeah, well, Kevin Jeffries is always having a party.
He actually parties harder than I do.
Yeah,
He
Kevin
plays
Jeffries
later than I
knows
do.
how to party.
He knows. Kevin Jeffries knows how to party.
He's he's a journeyman.
Well, he used to run a club, man.
That too.
He
Yeah.
knows everything. He knows everyone, Kevin Jeffries.
He would be he'd be like Sav from Status Nightclub. Holla, Vernon,
Okay.
represent. Yeah, they'd be in the same. Yeah, it's cool. Those guys are cool, man. They're from a generation that just doesn't really exist anymore. Those are just some good eggs there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the generation still exists. I mean.
Yeah, no, but it
They're
doesn't
still
for the
around.
contemporaries. Like as far as I'm concerned, they've got this personality that just is. I don't know. It just you don't see it replicated. It's like of that generation, you know. I don't
Gotcha.
know.
So today's topic is the art of being wrong. I thought it just sounded kind of cool.
Yeah.
So that was half the idea there. But also we're here to discuss kind of where we are in the world today, and I'm here to ask the question why people are so afraid of being wrong or have such a problem admitting they're wrong. What's your thought on that?
I don't know, man. You know, we're just talking.
I'm glad
about,
you're here. I don't know.
Well, no,
We really don't know though. Let's just
We
preface
don't. No,
this.
of
We
course
know
not.
nothing.
And I mean, how much of it is? Joe Rogan does a bit where he's like, if you got 10 people and you just kind of drop them onto an island and none of them knew anything, any context or anything like that, people would be like going, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm not sure what's going to happen. But there'd be one Yahoo in the crowd that goes, I know what to do.
I know everything.
I know exactly. It's okay. Follow me. And the guy knows nothing, but he just has chosen to make it seem like he does know things.
But we really are just monkeys.
You can't spell nothing without no things.
We really are just monkeys walking around trying to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Really asking each other like, oh, what do you do? What do you? Isn't that the first thing we say when we meet somebody?
Many times.
After you introduce your names. Oh, so what do you do?
Yeah.
And why do we do that?
I think, I don't know.
Why is that so important to us?
Is it a defining, is it a class thing?
No, I think it's just so we have a point of reference. I think it's that dopamine feedback system that's built in and inherent to us. We just want to know that. So I want to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
To compare it to what I'm doing to see if I'm anywhere in the realm of being on the right track.
Oh, I see.
You know what I'm
they
saying?
think about it that way. Like, okay, like, you know what's a good example of that? In the early 2000s, day trading.
Okay.
Hey, what are you doing these days? Oh, I'm day trading. Really? day trading. Tell me about that. Are you making a lot of money at that or whatever? There's an example of that.
Well, it's self-preservation, right? It's what
Sure.
we're all doing. I think that bleeds into political opinions as well. So, I mean, I guess you're right. I guess class definitely plays a role because different classes are going to have different opinions on different topics because it's self-preservation to your team, to your class, and to yourself.
Maybe
that make
it's just
sense?
yeah, it does. It totally does. Maybe it's also just an elite way of asking if somebody's a cop.
What do you?
Because you have to tell me if you're a cop, right?
I would be careful with that. That's not true.
I think you have to say it. If I say, "Are you a cop?" I think you have to identify yourself
How
as
you've
one.
never been arrested, I'll never know.
I asked the question. What do you do?
There's a lot of luck involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what is it? I was reading an article on Psychology Today, and there's actually not a lot of data on why people don't like admitting they're wrong. But I just wonder why we have such a problem. It's definitely something you have to teach yourself.
Sure.
Critical thing. I think we talked about this a little bit
Julie?
on the last episode.
Yep.
But you really do have to train yourself to be okay with being wrong. And I think it involves taking a breath before responding to everything and analyzing the situation.
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
No, not well.
No, I jump
I don't
in
think
fast
you-
sometimes.
You don't take a breath when you talk
I know.
at
It's
all.
weird, hey?
So
I
you're a
know.
bit of a rambler.
Got a gift for the gag.
But it's true, and I think it might be getting worse now with like division politics are becoming very popular, or just we talked about algorithms on the last one, how it's really easy to get your confirmation bias fed these days with
Oh, for
algorithms.
sure.
And I think that makes people very opinionated because a lot of people. Ricky Gervais has a really. Maybe I said this on the last. I feel like I'm just going to repeat things a lot as
If you're
episodes.
quoting multiple people multiple times,
It's
Ricky
gonna
Gervais,
happen.
Ricky Gervais is a good one to be doing that with.
But he says, social media gives everybody the ability to voice their opinion, but not everybody should.
Yeah,
right?
you did say this on the last one.
And I think it's an issue when we
Yeah.
start ignoring the data and start allowing anecdotal life evidence to be the new data.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
And
but-
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna
Finish your
say
thought.
the spanking argument is one of these that
Yep,
that
that's a good one.
is kind of along the lines of what I'm talking about here, because if you actually look at the research on spanking, it's an overwhelming consensus that spanking causes aggression in kids. But people will use their own anecdotal evidence of, oh, I was spanked and I turned out fine. Well, that doesn't change the data.
Yeah,
Like, okay, good for you. And how do you know that didn't cause any issues?
yeah,
Have
exactly.
you? Well, actually, I saw a thread once, and there was a guy yelling about how he was spanked and is no longer, or did not become aggressive. He was trying to argue the point.
Yeah.
I turned out fine. This is bullshit.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
know,
you're
but
kind of
it's a
proving
big
the
deal
point
though.
there.
Like it's a big deal. Like there are divisions in even the scientific community. Like there are people who believe that the pyramids are 6,000 years old, and they would be in the vast majority. In fact, they would be in the fact of what science is basically calling a fact.
Mhm.
But there's this growing contingent of people who have gathered evidence that the water erosion on the Sphinx is A, water erosion, and B, the Sphinx is probably 12 to 15,000, maybe even years older than what the consensus is right now. And part of the reason why regular science doesn't want to look into it and change the facts is because they don't want to be wrong.
Right.
Like, and that's so it's in academia as well. This isn't just some stuff that we deal with like as a psychological thing. It's in academia as well. It's actually in policy.
Well, and Charlie has a good point here. He says he can accept being wrong, but inside he doesn't like it, right? And I think that's
Yeah.
that cognitive dissonance where your brain tries to really hold on to its beliefs, and when those beliefs are challenged, it causes what's called cognitive dissonance, which
Sure.
is if you could just not slam that on the table because it echoes through
Through the cans.
the arms. There.
You're
Through the
welcome,
cans,
everybody.
yeah. But naturally we don't like that cognitive. It doesn't feel good. Feel physically anxious when that happens. So I think that definitely plays a big part of it. When does it become dangerous? Not admitting you're wrong and just blindly going with false statements. Trump does this a lot. I hate to keep bringing up Trump, but he's an easy target. You won't admit when you're wrong.
Gossip obviously can destroy. Now that's got. I think many times when people gossip, they don't necessarily have the intent on destroying people, but it can actually destroy people. It can, it's a form of bullying.
Do you think people that make false statements and then deny that they were wrong, do you think a lot of it is intentional, or do you think it's just a natural, like it's done accidentally, it's just a natural defense mechanism? Or do you think there's a lot of malicious intent?
I think both. I think it depends on the group and the subject and whatnot. But yeah, I think that, I know that there's malicious intent. Just seeing, these are people I'm flat out trying to avoid, are people who, they try and think of ways around corners to spread false things about people to either further themselves or maybe knock somebody down a peg or two. I see that a lot.
But I think you're right. I think it's both. But I think a lot of people do it unintentionally. Yeah. I think it's hard. I think it's just that hard for people to admit that they have done something wrong.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to feel... Because you see a lot of that with any new political correctness. There's always huge pushback, whether it's obscene political correctness or appropriate political correctness. But nobody wants to be wrong. And I go back to the spanking argument. How many of these people that are getting mad at this research are spanking their kids? Yeah. Nobody's making it illegal. No one's saying you legally cannot spank your kids. But they're recommending you don't. It's the research shows, like, we're just telling you what it causes.
Yeah.
So why are you getting so upset?
I think, that's a really good example. I think marijuana is probably, to a degree, going to be one of those things where people just don't want to let go of non-datified arguments. That arguments that go 100% against the scientific evidence, but they grew up with the reefer madness mentality.
So there's a good kind of paradigm shift to get into, is the social, like geography wise, like geographically, like where you grow up is going to determine your opinions as well.
Your whole environment.
Yeah, because your environment, everyone around you, right? I think that definitely gets in the way of facts too. I think another issue is that there's way too many facts out now. There's way too many different truths. I think you can pretty much Google any opinion you want and find it and verify your own opinion, which just causes a lot of...
Can I jump in about this right now?
Sure.
Okay, so
that's why you're here.
Oh well, I appreciate that.
The whole reason. It's not because of your looks. That's for damn sure.
No, that's for damn sure.
Especially with that hat. What's going on with the hat?
I like the hat.
It's kind of like a Bob Marley hat. I
a little bit.
Like it too.
Yeah, my wife likes it too. So
if I just look at the hat and not your face, I'm a fan.
All right, well,
anyways.
I get that a lot. I think back, we were talking about the previous generation, and one of the things they had, I was thinking about my dad's generation. He used to hang around this mechanic shop. And it was like, it could have been out of a sitcom. There was like 7 guys that would hang out there all the time, and they'd be sitting around the lunchroom table. He had a coffee room, and it was like a body shop downtown. And a couple of them, and I'm not going to say which ones, I don't want to incriminate everybody, but a couple of them were absolutely full of shit. Like they would say these things, and they would boast these things, and you could argue with them, even if you knew what the truth was, but they would just be like, they'd be full of shit. I don't know if you've ever seen these people who are like this. But
I've known people like that, and they just couldn't be wrong. The other, and every single person that is going to ever watch this will have at least met somebody like this, but the person that always has a story one up.
Yes, okay, and that's part of it too.
Yeah, no matter what is said, they oh yeah, me too, but there was 10 of us, or I fought 10 guys instead of the 3 that you fought.
And whatever. that's kind of where, and I okay, so that was a guy. That was a guy who was there in every group. It was usually one in every group, or a couple of them in every group. Like that was okay. And I remember when the internet came to smartphones.
Yes.
Okay. And it seemed like for a while, and this is why I feel like this subject is a piece of mutating bacteria, or a piece of a pesticide that no longer works anymore, because of what happened is that we all have the internet, and so we can shut that guy the fuck up. We can say, hey, no, I'm shutting you down. What you just said is bullshit.
Just show it.
Yeah, you just show it, right? And so that calmed down for a while.
It was the original fact check.
It was the original fact check.
Yeah.
Ask Jeeves. And it's in that form. And then that guy had to move out of town. But the problem is it mutated. Because now you can go online and find
the opposite
bullshit
with
evidence now towards it. And so it's like the dude in the mechanic shop, except even worse now, because even the information where you go and try and learn the truth could be suspect.
Yeah, and it's crazy times, and this is a big reason why I wanted to start this World of Great podcast, to just see what kind of opinions people have on different topics. This is a bit of a obscure, broad topic,
Sure.
so we're not going to really be pulling facts out as much. But
Thank God.
we're in a yeah, right. But we're in just this weird time, is this post-truth era where facts aren't as relevant as popular opinion. And then you also have people who are using false information and saying facts don't care about your feelings. But
Right.
then the facts that they're presenting aren't even right. So those facts can be manipulated by manipulating people's feelings. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right? So if you play to people's emotions, I mean, and if people only watch the same false information, then that's going to be their truth. This
Yeah.
is where I strongly believe. We talk about parallel universes when we get into kind of the more obscure lines of physics. But like we
Is that
have
string theory?
no, string theory is a little different.
All right.
Well, I mean, string theory, I guess, would be in. I don't know. I'm not
Yeah, I'm asking the right
a
guy.
fucking physicist.
All right.
I think we
Like
have
dimensions.
we have our version of parallel universes.
Sure.
With media and the internet, like we are all living in different fucking realities.
The blue dress, gold dress thing from a couple years ago proves exactly that.
Yeah, that's a more of a brain trick, right? Now you're getting to.
suppose.
I'm talking about just perception.
It makes me think what shade of blue the sky you see compared to the shade I see. It makes me think of that sometimes, that we
Well,
all perceive things very differently.
yeah.
Just look at the behavior of different humans.
Well, to derail our original point, yeah, that's that always, maybe there's more science to this, but I always
Sure.
thought of that when I was younger. Is the only reason I know this cup is red is because when I was young, someone pointed to this color and said that's red,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So how do I know what you're saying? Like how our reds look the same,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
There might be. I'm sure they can study the cones in the eyes, and there's probably facts there. I don't know. I just think
Rods and cones.
rods and cones, but I think
Grade
just
science.
that is, I mean, a different example of perception. I'm talking just about the parallel universes of just our own opinions on things.
Yeah.
And we all have and it's just crazy, and it's just this 49-51% constant flip to one side or the other, and you factor in our tribalism, and it's just we're living in crazy times right
you
now.
certainly are.
But I do think it's important to work on admitting when you're wrong and being okay with being wrong. Jordan Peterson is a Canadian psychology professor who's become quite popular in social media.
Polarizing.
These days.
He's polarizing.
Very
too.
polarizing.
Yeah.
And I really don't.
Can something be very polarizing?
Just watch your popping peas there, Peter.
Whoa.
You don't have a filter. That's
I got a filter.
it's a budget thing.
I got a filter.
It's a budget thing. You have no filter, not on this
No.
mic and not in your brain.
Oh, well, yeah.
But Jordan Peterson became very popular on the transgender argument because there was that university in Toronto that was just trying to pass legislation of what you had to say.
Yes.
And he was very much against forcing people to have to say something, which I think is a pretty decent point. But he, and then to be fair, most of his philosophical opinions are completely opposite of mine. But he has a really good point that he makes, saying that we should all strive to be proven wrong
Yeah, I dig that.
and be okay with it.
Yeah.
And I think we should always be trying to have less superficial conversations and be talking to people that are able to prove us wrong. Because if you're not being proven wrong, you're not growing.
Yeah.
And if you're not okay with being wrong, then you're not going to grow. And you see people that get stuck in their own little nutshell bubble where it doesn't matter what information comes in, they are just so blindly like covered up to it.
Sure.
And they just never change, and they just
Charlie just asked a question. and I'm wondering if it's these type of people. He used the word narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah, so I did see this. So Charlie's asking, what about narcissistic tendencies in
Isn't
people?
that the person you were just describing, though?
Yeah, totally. And I've known a few narcissistic people in my life, and I guess this is where it's hard because someone who's narcissistic, their brain is going to be wired differently than mine. Somebody who cares more about money than people compared to me who cares more about people. That like
Sure.
like who's to say what's right or wrong? Who's to say if
Exactly.
I'm a better, more moral human being because I care about people first, or if it's them who cares more about self-preservation in their family. Who's to say?
Yeah, exactly.
What's right or wrong?
You ask 100 people, and you're going to get 50 different answers.
Yeah, but I personally feel that for personal growth, you have to be okay with being wrong and try to critically think and try to take each argument as it comes and look back. And can you think of any time in your life where you were so dead set on an opinion and then later down the road had to admit that you were wrong?
I can only do it abstractly. I can do it right now abstractly. I'll try and think of an actual instance. But what I love about aging, like I'm 42 right now, and I love thinking back to that 35-year-old and how full of shit he was. And I like thinking back from the 35-year-old all the way back, to the 25-year-old, and the 25 to the 35 was a big jump, and how full of shit that guy was. And I love aging, and I love learning these things. Of course, I don't like being proven wrong, and I'm trying to think of a place where maybe even I wasn't even proven wrong. It just turned out that I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is that I try and operate my opinions from the best possible heart as I put them out there.
Mm-hmm.
And being wrong, I mean, it's a growing experience, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an iron sharpening iron experience. You're only going to get sharper as if, iron hits you. Can you think of one? Can you think of one where you were really wrong?
I'm wrong all the time.
I'm wrong all the time as well, but I'm saying something where you were like, "Woo! This is where I'm planting my flag," and then when you find out that you planted your flag completely.
I mean, I don't know about the intensity of what you're talking about, but I'm now that I've practiced a lot at being a little bit more critically thinking. I do it. I interrupt people a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't let people. I fire back in before people are done talking, and then it's like, I'm not done. I do it to Jen. I did it to her last night. And she was talking about going somewhere on a Monday and with some people that like to stay out a little later, and I was like, I don't want to go because I don't want to stay out late, blah blah.
Right.
And they're like, they're bringing their son. We're just going for dinner. Like, let me finish what I'm saying. And I instantly apologized. Actually, I stopped myself kind of mid sentence. Like, maybe I saw what I was doing. And I think that ability to kind of get outside of yourself and listen. Sometimes I'll say something and then I'll hear it.
The cool thing is 25-year-old Colin
never would have done that.
Wouldn't have stopped you.
No. Especially like 22, 23-year-old Colin knew fucking everything.
Pretty cocky.
Knew everything.
Yeah, exactly. I was like that too.
But I think I do it even when I research something or get really stuck on one, because I get obsessed with topics. And to be perfectly honest, this is not one of these things I've researched a lot. I just kind of came to me, the idea of it. But like, I researched sugar for like 3 straight months. I got obsessed with like just the mechanisms of sugar and the marketing of sugar, and then I tend to think I'm an expert in them for a very short period of time.
Sure.
Right? But I'm not an expert.
But you're an enthusiast, and sometimes enthusiasts can come off with differently insightful observations about that subject, though.
But I think when you get into arguments with people and then just start citing like the couple things you've researched and like if they're fact, I think you're better off if you're not an expert in something and you want to grow and you want to learn, which is a big reason why I want to do this Facebook Live thing, hopefully at a better hour when we can get more people talking, is we should ask things more in questions. If you're not an expert in it, instead of arguing back at somebody saying, well, no, it's actually this because of this couple of things that I've read. Instead say, well, okay, interesting, but I read this article that says this, this, and this. Like, what do you think about that? Like, maybe leaving it a little bit more open, or, I don't know about what you're talking about, but what I've researched is blah, blah, blah. This has been disproven, blah, blah, blah. Like, open it up to more back and forth conversations instead of just shutting people down, which is what we do all the time. That's what the problem with social media. And like I said before, there's a lot of really good things with social media. We're able to do this free streaming out to people that can, and they can go back and watch this. Yeah, it's a tremendous communication tool. But as for meaningful, and I don't want to say debates, but just meaningful conversations, it's really hard because you're not looking at people face to face. So how are you ever going to find common ground? Because facial expressions,
it's like text messaging on steroids.
100%.
It's thousands of people potentially watching it.
Plays a big role, and I just think there's a lot of a lot of tone that gets missed. And then when somebody is trying to say that we're wrong, we're trying to say that they're wrong, it breaks down real quick for the majority of people. And like I said before in the last one, I get sucked into these debates sometimes,
Yeah.
and they're so unhealthy, and I hate myself a little bit every time. But even getting sucked into those debates, I try to be as cordial as possible and just express why I don't feel that what they're saying is necessarily accurate or moral, or why it differs from my opinion. That doesn't. I'm not saying that it means I'm right. But you see a lot in these back and forth comments where it just breaks down to like so personal so fast, and I just wonder, is this an evolution from social media? Have humans always had this behavior, or is this just ramping up because of the whirlwind that is social media?
I think, like I said earlier, I'm going to maintain
Yeah,
that.
so
First
both.
off, if you're an enthusiast, you probably shouldn't be arguing with anybody if you're just an enthusiast rather than an expert or something like
Mhm.
that. But
True.
even that, I love the idea of asking questions. I think you're on point when you say that. That's the right way to go about it. But I'm going to go back to that original thought to answer the question, is that I think that it's mutated. I just think it's the same old thing. It's just faster. It's just on steroids.
Right.
My dad's generation, the guys in the mechanic shop, it's the same thing, right? Except it's just, this is new, and it's on steroids. It's a lot more people doing it, and they're doing it in a different way, but I think it's always existed. I mean, the Bible talks about gossip. That's thousands of years old. It talks about how awful gossip can be. There's an old text, I don't know if it's biblical or not, that talks about gossip being like a fire. It's...
What if the Bible's wrong? So I just want to give a
But
shout
it's
out.
not wrong. We know that gossip is like fire.
Well, it was a joke. What if the Bible's wrong? I'm going along the whole topic here. I just want to give a shout out to Charlie. He's the only one watching this right now.
Yo, Charlie.
I do not blame our small Facebook following for not watching this, because it is like 8:30 on a Saturday,
Yeah,
and this is just kind of when our schedules matched up, and
Yeah.
we're just gonna do this.
it's my
shit.
fault.
Well,
I had
no
a-
fault. Hey,
I had a
I'm
Nidra
so
yoga
glad you
session
said
with
that.
my wife today.
You had a what?
Nidra yoga session.
I love that you're doing yoga.
My wife and I
Fantastic.
did Nidra yoga. Yeah,
How'd you
so
feel
it's
about it?
it was tremendous. It was life changing. It was a very philosophical yoga experience. There wasn't a ton of movement in it. It was
Right.
mostly just
Meditation.
meditation, and it. My wife and I connected on a very deep level, and it was just a really, really cool experience.
Yoga is very philosophical.
Oh yeah,
It has the Yoga Sutras. I don't know if they explain this to you.
I don't know.
I did yoga training to become an instructor.
Yep.
I never completed the apprentice part of it because I got that management job and it just got a little crazy. But one thing that we did with...
You chose the corporate over the spiritual.
well, no, I didn't ditch the spiritual. When I
Okay.
have time, I'll definitely get back to it. And I still do practice yoga
Okay.
at my house or at my gym as well. But we did this training with Christy Taylor, who's one of the best yoga instructors in the Okanagan. She's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
We had a sit-down component, so we had like the yoga practice, and we learned the poses, and then we went through these sutras, and I'm probably butchering the enunciation,
Mhm.
but these sutras, a lot of them were just looking within yourself and help, like self-analyzing, and a lot of the stuff I had been working on for years. But there was one night where we went through these sutras, and it was about putting yourself in other people's shoes before you react to either comments they make or get in an argument. And that day I had a very busy schedule. I was working about 13-ish hours between the various things that I was doing,
Mhm.
and then I had to I was doing the head of talent relations character
Yes,
for Big
yes,
West
yes,
Wrestling,
yes.
and I hadn't ironed my shirt, and I texted Jen and asked her to iron my shirt, and I had not looked at my phone for the rest of it. This was early in the morning, and then didn't look at my phone.
Right.
And she texted back, I'll try, but I'm also trying to clean the house before I go to work. Which, in my
Okay.
head, my first reaction was like, well, I've just worked 15 hours. Like, the most ridiculous thing is I didn't see this text until I got home. She had ironed my shirt.
Oh.
She had done it. But then I read the text message and was about to get very defensive because I had worked 13 hours, right? She wasn't attacking me,
No.
right? So I took a breath. I had just gone through these yoga sutras, and when I thought about it and analyzed it, like, you got to take it from her point of view.
Yep.
She's trying to clean the house before she goes to work. She hasn't even gone to work yet, and then I'm asking for her to do something that I should have done beforehand. So instead of firing back and getting in this argument, and then I apologized, like, I didn't know that, you were cleaning the house, I wouldn't have asked, blah, blah, blah. And then she responded with, it wasn't a big deal. But can you imagine how differently that conversation would have went
If you would have
if
gone
I would
off?
have got instantly defensive? And so
100%.
I still think about that text message conversation, because how many times in our lives could conversations have gone different if we would have just taken a breath, saw it from the other person's point of view, and then gone from there. But it's so inherently natural for us to get defensive because we don't want to be wrong, because we don't want to be the one that's not contributing to the overall team, and we don't want to be at the bottom, and we don't want to be pushed out, and we don't want to be excluded. You know what I mean? It's this you gotta like follow the white rabbit, you know what I'm saying?
I'm a fan of irony, and it's so ironic because the solution to this, which you really eloquently put that, the solution to this is taking your breath, putting yourself in the other person's shoes. That's the most positive way to go about it. Not only is it the most positive way, it'll get you in the most opportunity. Because what if you respond, if you put yourself in someone else's shoes, you respond well to them, and it leads to an opportunity of some sort because you're in more of harmony with them. It's the positive response, but we naturally don't want to do the positive response. So that's the better thing to do. But our instincts tell us to do the thing that's not better for us. How ironic is that?
Humans are a fickle bitch, you know that? Human behavior is a fickle bitch.
Yeah.
I also just really like saying fickle bitch.
Fickle
I don't know why we did this so
Fickle
late.
bitch.
This is a ridiculous time to be doing this.
We'll see if anybody
I love
watches
it,
it after.
I love no pressure.
I think 8 o'clock is supposed to be a good night, and not on a Saturday.
I'm gonna go make a
grant
drink.
that.
Fuck it.
All right, you.
Are we allowed to
I got the
talk
cans
about
on
alcohol
now.
on Facebook?
I've never had the cans on.
I know. You
Okay,
just keep.
this is cool.
You just keep talking.
I have no problem to
Keep
keep talking.
talking on stream.
Have you guys noticed? I guess you guy. Hey Charlie. But those who watch this after, did you notice the dog? I was actually making inroads with the dog. The dog has never liked. Well, that dog back there likes me. The big one likes me, but the little one doesn't like me. I think he thinks Harley thinks I'm gonna threaten to his wonderful father, Colin. But I'm not. I genuinely like little animals, and so this is not a little animal. This is a big animal here. Hey man. All right. Yeah. Can't see that. There's a big old dog on me here. All right. Yeah. This one here, no problem.
Where'd you say it?
The weird dog?
Yeah, like way too many times.
Yeah. That's what
It's a party in here.
It's a party. Oh, there go my nice cans.
I just made a coffee.
Yeah.
An iced coffee.
Oh, it smells good.
Smells like coffee. This is ridiculous. Like we've said before, this is an experiment, this World of Grey.
Yeah.
Eventually we will become a little bit more professional, but this is just
But now we're experimental.
I just want to know people's opinions. I want to learn. I want to
Heavy on the
grow.
mental.
I want to use other people's opinions to form my own opinions. So
Yeah.
I understand that. And again, Charlie, thanks for watching. But there's not a lot of people watching this live, which is totally fine. What I want you guys to do is if you do watch all of this or some of this later on, please leave a comment. And what I'd like to do on the next episode is kind of review what we talked about in the last ones, for as long as that naturally goes. And we'll save some of the comments that come up at a later time, and we'll review it. And if there's none and this topic has no legs, then we'll just move on. There's a million things in the world of great to talk about.
People don't want to talk about being wrong, Colin.
People don't want to admit to being wrong. They want to talk about being wrong. But
we don't know that yet. We don't know
it's
that.
okay to be wrong. And I will say from personal experience, when you can be okay with being wrong and admit to being wrong, it can be very freeing. I say, I'm an idiot on a daily basis.
Yeah, me too.
And I run a facility. That's kind of a scary thought. But I feel like I still do a very good job, even though I constantly think, I made this was a bit I was kind of doing to someone. We were on the Penticton channel.
Sure.
And it was a joke, but if you admit to being dumb or say you're dumb when you do something, like if you do something stupid, and then immediately say, "Oh shit, that was stupid," you're not stupid.
It's like the double negative thing.
Do you follow me?
There.
I don't want to say no if it's a double negative, but if you do, like we all do stupid things.
Sure.
There's not a person. There's maybe like a 0.2% of the population that is just like Kyle Sebastian and never does anything stupid, and everything he does is like amazing.
And he has great hair.
Fucking Kyle.
He's got
That
great
dude
hair.
is like, he can do something one time and then he's like an expert in it. But most of us are not that gifted and do dumb things. But if
Sure.
you do something dumb and then you're like, oh shit, that was dumb, then you're probably not dumb. It's if you constantly do dumb things and like can't even recognize that what you did was dumb.
Right.
I'm not saying that makes you dumb, but it doesn't make you super smart. And
No, that's for sure.
I think that's where critical thinking really needs to be worked on a little bit more, especially in this world. And as somebody who has staff, I respect staff that can be like, oh, I'm sorry, like I see what I did there now, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Then the ones that just make excuses or blame other people, because this is where fault starts coming in, and I know it's hard. But I try really hard to just never put fault to anyone, especially at work, because at work everything technically should be my fault.
Unless it's after a wrestling match that didn't go the way it was supposed to go.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's their fault. I mean, they did something dumb, and when it comes to wrestling, let's just go back and forth and get off topic, because that's what we do. Wrestling's a little different. When I get upset with people in wrestling, especially people that don't have formal training and this is just how they're gonna learn. It's the school of hard knocks, right? This is how you're gonna learn. I paid for professional training and I
Sure.
still had to learn like that. You just learn under fire, right?
But to put okay.
And that's just I'm
So if you're wrong about something, you should get punished for it a little bit.
I don't know about punish, but like I just am no bullshit when it comes to that learning curve.
All right.
And I'm just gonna tell you straight up. And yeah, sometimes after a match, when the match is so close to being at like a level that I'm satisfied with, and one little thing that's outside of my control happens, yeah, instinctually, I'm not saying it's healthy or that I'm right for doing that.
A ref screws up the finish of a match.
Yeah, I know what instance you're talking about, and I was quite angry. Hey,
No,
my
I
credit,
just like it because there's a referee watching us. That's the thing I like about that.
It wasn't Charlie, I'll tell you that.
No,
the
it
one
wasn't.
the time you're talking about, I luckily left the building and calmed down a bit. I went and paced.
Yes.
And yeah, but that's what I'm saying is, as much as I've worked on critical thinking in the last few years, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I don't ever blow up. Like, yeah,
I was more just trying to get a rise out of you, and I think it worked.
Yeah, no, I like it. No, it's good.
Okay,
That's what you gotta do. You gotta try to get a rise out of it.
Plus, I was waiting for you to get the YouTube back up.
Oh, Facebook Live stuff.
Oh, there we go.
Let's see if we can get Daisy in there.
Yeah, Daisy's.
There you go, Daisy. Daisy Cam.
Daisy
YouTube
Cam.
gets Daisy Cam, and they can just hear my voice in the background. That's fine.
And this one gets a wiener dog.
But this is, I keep saying but, even though there was nothing before it. This is the learning curve. I feel like, yeah, we should all critically think a little bit more. I also think sometimes it's good to just put the phones down.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. Go on tech break. The Nidra yoga session I did today was 9 to 3 with Candy. And I didn't pick up my phone once the entire time.
I love it.
It was awesome.
That's why I love camping.
Camping.
It's one of my favorite things about camping is that you literally can't do anything.
The campfire is my favorite thing. Campfire. Oh, I love the campfire.
I love the campfire. We went to a music festival once when we were much younger, and Sergio was the head. He still is, but he was the head chef of Hector's at the time, and I wasn't in management. I understand it, and I definitely understand it now.
Right.
But he was getting calls while he was at this music festival, like 5 hours away, and it's like, well, it's not a team of people that you. Do you have a team of people that work under you, or just a team of people you work with?
I have both
Both?
actually in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, you're such a positive guy. I feel like you're like a duck. You know that?
In what way?
Water just rolls
I
right
see.
off your feathers.
Yeah, it does.
And you
for the
quack
most part.
randomly.
And I do. Yeah, that's how I'm more like a duck. Yeah, it's. I was blessed for whatever reason with an optimism that I am very grateful and present to have. I understand that I'm a little different to the point. Probably since high school, maybe even a little before. Some people didn't even know how to take me. They thought I was fake. It was like not a real thing. But no, I believe that there are so many things in life that are a choice, including attitude. And I just love trying to help people get what they want.
and be the best version of themselves.
Yeah. Oh, very much. I
And
love
then
that. I'm a
pull
big fan of that.
something- Yeah, I like seeing this is what and I'm getting better at it with my staff and like the mentoring and that aspect. Oh,
Sure.
sorry.
Technical
That
difficulties.
button's way too close to the clamp. I'm getting better at the mentoring, but I love that with my wrestling students is seeing kind of what their strengths are and just pulling that out, right?
Yeah.
Seeing who's more of a ring general and that's kind of their thing. Who's got the actual athletic ability and who's clever with promos and who's got a good mind and and then bringing it all together and getting them to help each other, right?
Yeah.
Go to them for this and them for this and they're really good at that. Watch the way he does this, and you know what I'm saying? And then to watch it all come together and then to watch them go out on their own and come back with all the things they've learned from other people, because I think that's another thing is I'm not the only opinion, right? You got to go out and you got to get all these different opinions, and then you have to then filter through your brain. And it's the same whether you're researching or whether you're learning a new trade or a new skill.
Oh yeah.
Because you got to get as much information as possible, and then it's a mix of like your personality and maybe the way you grew up. Who knows? But that
and time.
And time, yeah.
Lots of
that's
time,
a great point.
right? Like
Yeah.
I mean, you got to devote something to it, and whatever you spend your time in, and whatever you're gonna build whatever it is that you spend your time in. If you don't do anything, if you're just on a couch all the time and whatnot, that's what you're gonna get back out. Like that's how you're spending your time. If you're honestly trying to learn a new craft or a trade or a whatever, and you put your time into it, you might as well put a great attitude into it, and then you'll have something.
Yeah, and not blaming everything else in the world for your downfalls. And I'm not saying
victim
there's
mentality.
Yeah, and I'm not saying there's not because I wouldn't say a social justice warrior, but I'm definitely someone that will advocate for like the lower classes, and I definitely think there are things that get in the way on a broader scale, but it has to start with you. And to go back to Jordan Peterson, as much as I say I don't agree with him, there's a lot of things that I do is you got to start with yourself, you got to start with your family, then you can help your community. And if everyone worked on themselves, worked on taking care of their family, and then started contributing to their community, that's real change.
Oh yeah.
Because we can all watch YouTube news or mainstream media and get pissed off about everything that's going on in the world, but unless you're gonna strap up, lace up your boots and go do something about it, then what's the point in getting angry and cynical? And I'm guilty of it.
It's not just that; it's the people who actually are the crab in the bucket, and they scorn you for it. I want to change my life. I want to make when I started my financial business, and I still get it to this. I still get to this point. Like once I left Costco, there were people who were like, "Hey man, oh you left Costco? Is it okay?" I'm like, bitch, I make triple what I made at Costco in my business that I built, right? But when I was building that business, those same people, oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, you shouldn't do that. And it's like the crab in the bucket, that one crab that's going to make it out of the bucket. The other crabs stack up on each other to grab them and bring them down.
Well, and maybe money is not even the reason why you're trying to do something. And this is maybe a fault of mine because I definitely struggle financially because I don't have that mentality. But the financial gains isn't always the reason why you're going into something, right?
No, of course not. Like by the way, I started that business when I was 29. I got through my 20s and I was, whatever.
Yeah.
I wanted something more at that point. I wanted to have some experiences that I just wouldn't have otherwise. And I started thinking bigger, and I had my goals kind of stretched and whatnot. So it wasn't about the money, although it was, I did want to build something. And I did want to be compensated for it.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to say that that's a bad thing.
It's not a bad
thing,
but it's not just the money. I wanted a bigger life.
Yeah, sorry. I guess my point was, if you have an idea of something or a goal towards something, and that end result doesn't end in a large compensation, it's okay to be okay with that.
Oh, totally.
Right? And this is why
I just applaud the effort. When somebody goes after their dreams, I applaud that effort. Like, especially if they do it in the face of people being those crabs in the bucket. Like, I love that. I love the entrepreneurial spirit. I love people who, they've got a goal and they so in business, if they're an artist, they start busking or they start doing things. Like, I love when people break free of the norm and go for their dreams. I love that. I'm a big fan of that.
And I think that's where my kind of progressive attitude, to for lack of a better term, is where I would like to see a little bit more equality of opportunity, because I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if we have people in society that don't, want to dig ditches and they just want to be creative. And
Sure.
if we somehow could get to a point where maybe through automation or whatever, that those jobs people don't necessarily want to do are just taken care of, and we can spend our time doing more of these creative projects. I just think it would be interesting to see where not society, but just where human evolution goes,
Humankind.
right? Humankind and evolution and our morals could morph to, if we could all have different priorities instead of just all striving to make just enough money to survive in this very thin margin of profit that's available to people. And I don't know what that looks like, and I don't know what all the mechanisms are, but I do know that there are select few people. There's a select few powerful people that have greed, and I just don't think that's really debatable.
No.
And I may be getting a little bit off topic here, but I just
no,
think
hold on. I want to go back to that for a second, because it's like, okay, so this gal named Tamara, who did Candace's and my Nidra yoga retreat today, right?
Where was this? What was
it's just this gal. No, it's not a studio.
Okay.
It's out of her house. She does it out of her house.
Yeah, it's getting more.
And it's incredible. There's like 8 other people there, and it was this amazing experience, and it was the whole day, or a big chunk of the day, and it included multiple sessions. And in the sessions, she was so knowledgeable, and it was this thing that impacted us so much. Like, it really, really impacted us to the point of emotion, of an emotional response from both Candace and myself and everyone else who was there. And on the way home, I said to her, it's a real shame that someone with that much knowledge, who can transform people's lives in a day, who can take the time and do this without cue cards and without, she was a master of what she did. She was a master of her craft. And I said, that woman should be making multiple 6 figures.
Yeah, and this is when we're talking about people not wanting to admit that something's not right, or that something's off, or that a whole society's opinion is wrong. Maybe that's not the right way to word it, but
our priorities are out of whack.
Yeah, where the status quo is always correct. And it's just my humble opinion, but there's a lot of jobs that may get compensated very unproportionally compared to, say, firefighters or doctors, or not necessarily doctors, they make pretty good money, but paramedics and people that where is this,
we're actually saving lives.
Yeah, we don't.
Shouldn't that be the wealthiest person in the world, the person who saves the most people?
Yeah, there's a lack of quantifying the actual contribution to society. Isn't that shouldn't that be the and this is where you would know more than me, but shouldn't that be the point of, not necessarily market economics, but why we specialize and do things for a certain amount of the money pool? Isn't it supposed to be how much we contribute back to the overall health of society? Shouldn't that be the parameters of the game?
But then you get capitalism, and you throw capitalism into it, and you say, okay, you can choose your own destiny, choose whatever you want to choose. And so that kind of messes up. I don't know if you can have one and the other at the same time. It's almost like they're enemies of each other in some ways.
But who's setting the rules to this? This is where I think people need to...
Parker Brothers made Monopoly. I don't know who the real Parker Brothers are in our world, but there are some.
And there's a lot of other things that we don't factor in, right? Like saying that, and I feel like we're really getting a little bit off topic, but this is where I'm saying people don't think about what's right and what's wrong, and we just kind of go along with the status quo. Who's to say, what job, who's to say just because, there's certain rules to, a market that you're actually positively contributing. I always think of the stock market as an example. It's basically a giant casino, right? And there's just so much money going on there. At what point do we just look at that and be like, is that okay? Is that contributing to the best of society? Can we and where does this come from? Is it a morality thing? Is it a culture thing? Is it a media thing? We talk about behavioral economics as well, compared to just basic market economics.
Yep.
Like there's manipulation of marketing and media. Like
Sure.
why aren't we factoring all these different things in, right? And
Well, and will there be a time when it does happen? Will the tipping point be so moved that it has to happen? I don't know the answer to that.
I feel like I didn't get that point across the best.
I apologize if I interrupted. I didn't mean to.
No. I just feel like
Okay.
I didn't quantify
Well,
that.
Charles, to go back to something too with what Charles was saying there, like, he wishes that everyone could just chase after their dreams and be financially okay. Yeah, and I agree with that. Like, that's where the universal basic income, which you and I've talked a little bit about.
I think we should do
comes
a
in.
whole episode on that, or
Man, I would
or
love
maybe
that.
just overall systems view of the way things are ran. But I think
Yeah.
it could almost be its fault. But yeah, the universal basic income is something that gained a lot of ground last year, and really not a lot more thought that I've seen has gone into it. But it's an interesting notion. So I guess it comes down to asking the broader question of, do we have the ability to feed, house everyone in the world, and produce enough energy for all of human basic needs? And I want to say needs, not wants. So
I think
so
if
is
we
it
focused on
possible?
it all work together, I think it would
Right.
be yes. But that's what it would take. It would take everybody focusing on it and working together.
Okay, so let's work backwards. Where are the barriers here? Is it greed? Is it years of having the same mentality and culture? Because we weren't always like this. Pre-Neolithic revolutions of hunter-gatherer age is way bigger time in human history than post-Neolithic, post-agriculture revolution, right? Like our time now of specialization and market and all this stuff, even industrial revolution, tech revolution, this is a very small blip in human history.
Yeah.
So to say like, oh, this is just the way humans are and we have infinite wants, and that is an argument, and we can look at the data, and I'm sure there's a lot of basis there, but it's not, doesn't mean that it's just the way humans are.
No.
Because we weren't always like that.
No.
Like, yeah, now look, because
Well, and not all humans are like that, but there are ones that are very powerful that are like that. Like, I don't think that the ultra wealthy are all going to get together and say, okay, so let's take our personal fortunes, but also the profits of all the companies we run, and the vast majority of it, we'll keep a small percent for ourselves, but the vast majority of it is going to be put into housing and feeding the world.
right, social
That's what
programs.
we're talking about.
Because
That's
that's
that. It would be that grand of a scale,
'Cause
or
we're getting into communism here.
sure, or that grand of a scale. It would be them choosing to do it, or the entire system collapsing,
Right.
and yet the
Starting
government
from-
remaining and ordering what's about to happen, and everyone adhering to that.
Yeah.
I mean that would, and those are called bread lines, and those are called, it's going to be really interesting to see how long our economy and all these things can keep going, and will technology save us?
I think maybe we'll talk about this in the next episode that we do, and we'll kind of.
God damn, did we just do a trailer?
We just did a trail. I think that's what we should get into in the next one. Kind
Awesome.
of not necessarily just how markets work, but social priority or societal priorities, and where we are and maybe where we should be, because there's a lot to delve into there. Because yeah, you're right. Do we use our resources for the common good of the collective, or are we in just this wild, wild west self-preservation, hoard as much money and power as you can, or do just enough people have that mentality that it affects everybody else, right? I think there's a lot to discuss here. I think this was the wrong time to do it. On a Saturday after 8, I feel like we mumbled through a few of that, but we are just going to get better and better at this open conversation. Hopefully,
We can't get much worse.
We can't get much worse. I think there's definitely some legs to stand on here of what we're trying to get to, and we're not doing this to be the ones that better society. I just want everybody to want more out of the information that's out there. I want people to want better, to get better. Like Bo Burnham has said in his stand-up, I'm not saying we're it. We're just the guys that say you should probably be a little more critical and you should try to get better. And then you say, thanks, weird man. And then you go out and you do your own research and you get better, because I don't think that staying stagnant in the status quo at this point in time is working out for the majority of people. I think if everybody kind of opened their eyes a little bit, got out of their 9-to-5 bubble and started really looking around and seeing like what makes sense, what is working, does the states need to be in all these wars? Does money need to be allocated there? Do we always need to ask the question, oh, who's going to pay for it? And then not ask that about other things. You know what I'm saying? Like, at what point do we start really looking out for us? And if you want to be tribal, but let's all be on the human tribe. Let's try that tribe for a while, and let's all kind of band together and go back and forth and have meaningful conversations and stop just arguing with each other. And I think podcasts like this can be a really good tool. And maybe this shitty style of podcast that we're doing will make you want to go out and learn more about any topic that we throw out there to somebody.
Or crowdfunding, give us better technology.
Or give us better. Yeah, and then
So
we could
we'll
do
take
that
that.
as well. And we could actually spend time researching if we actually had more time. So anyways, for the one person that watched the majority of that, and for all of you that will watch this in the future, this is the World
Thanks,
of Gray
Mom.
podcast in a society geared more towards black and white arguments. Me and Chisholm are here to explore the world of gray. I am Kelowna's Cougar Meat Kid, Colin Cutler.
I am grade A, Mike Chisholm.
We'll see you next time. Bye. This is that awkward moment when I figure out how to end.
The Germans would have a word for this.
What's that?
This awkward moment while the podcast is still going on, but it's ended.
What's the word?
No, I'm just saying they would have a word for
Oh,
the feeling.
you
that
don't
this
know what it
feeling
is?
Oh, God, no. I don't even know what the German word for podcast is.
9.
9.
Well, that was all right. It's more of a cluster than I wanted it to be.
I still love it. The Worst Day Podcast.
We just like hearing our own voice.
Yep.